Hey everyone, I'm Kai Tremer, the host of the Soccerpedia podcast. For today's episode, my guest is former Canadian international soccer player Issey Nakajima-Farran, who represented Canada 38 times, scoring one goal, and he was a part of Canada's 2007, 2009, 2011, and 2013 CONCACAF Gold Cup squads. He has played all across the world in stretching 4 continents, and yeah, I'm very excited to have him on the show, and without further ado, here's the show.
Do you wanna? Here we go.
Hey,
All right, hold on. We are connected.
cool.
All right, I'm a
How's it
little
going?
sweaty. I'm all right. How you doing, man?
Good, good. So you just got done with a futsal training or a match?
Yeah, no, it's just a bunch of friends getting together for a bit of futsal,
Sweet.
and I have found some decent lighting
Yeah,
because it's night over here. So
yeah,
in the backside of Shibuya.
yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Issei, thank you very much for having the time to appear on the podcast. Hope you're doing well. And so you've pretty much played practically almost everywhere in the world. You have traveled quite extensively in your career across, I think, 4 different continents. And how's that like playing across different leagues and various different teams? How has that experience been for you?
Um, Amazing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think every player, when you start off as a pro or even as a kid trying to be a pro, is that you want to play Champions League, you know? So, I mean, even for myself, growing up, my goal was to play Champions League. And to, but, I think footballers, your peak is around 28. So I think around 28, I wasn't in Champions League. I made it to UEFA Cup, one of the games against Olympiacos, but playing for Nordsjælland at the time in Denmark. It was a good time, but I think as a player, you get to a point where what's more important? Is it playing Champions League? Is it playing World Cup? And of course, that was my goals. But as I reached my peak, you start to realize, okay, well, maybe there's an alternative to this sort of lifestyle. Plus, I got sick of the cold in Denmark.
Hmm.
So, plus, when I mean sick of the cold, it's because we play on frozen grass. If somebody steps on your toes, you got blue toes, and then you're out for 5 days. To minimize that, you have to I don't know if anybody knows this, but you put a needle under a flame, and then you pierce your nail to release that pressure. But usually you kind of drill through your nail, and it always just goes through the nail because you have to add some force, and it always pierces your bone. It's excruciating pain. And I got sick of that because I was doing that almost every week for like 5 years, 6 years. So when somebody talked to me about playing in Australia, that seemed, where there's palm trees and a whole bunch of nature. And I always liked the fact that a holiday wasn't part of, you didn't need a holiday from what you do. It was just going back to see your friends and family and traveling, seeing all these different cultures and playing the same language, no matter what the language was. It was the same language, with the ball at your feet. So I was curious to see all that. So around 28, when I had the Australia option, that's when I kind of decided that that's what I wanted to do, and explore the world as much as I could before I retire. Because they say you play to about 30. After 30, so every year is a bonus. So I was fortunate to have till 36. I just gave it up. Well, I mean, I didn't give it up. It's just I don't think I played with some veterans who played Champions League, won the Champions League, won the Liga. I played with some veterans in Valladolid. So yeah, all these ex Atletico Madrid players and stuff, Juventus and all that, and they're like 50s and stuff, right? And they all said you never retire as a footballer, and I really like that concept, and I think that still is kind of with me. I don't have a club, but I haven't retired.
Mhm.
Mentally, I'm still training hard. I still, play futsal, play whatever football I can find here and there with other people that love the game also. And yeah, I'm enjoying that right now in middle of Tokyo right now, which that's why I'm kind of covered in sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you were born in Canada before moving to Japan at the age of 3, and you started
yeah,
off youth career with a couple of Japanese youth clubs. You spent some youth time with Crystal Palace.
Hmm.
So how did you know that you wanted to represent the Canada international team, or did you want to represent Japan as well?
Well, growing up in Japan, of course, the goal was to play in the J League. You play. I was the youth player at Tokyo Verdy. From 15, 16, 17, 18. So that's what you're aspiring to be. You see you're training right next to the professionals. That's where your goal is. I mean, the immediate goal. So you're not even thinking about Europe. You're thinking about reaching that ladder that is presented in front of you as a youth player, right? So that's what I was working hard towards. And then I don't think national team was even a question at that time because I did have all three passports. I was playing in Japan as a Japanese player, and then I got sent to Singapore on loan to gain more experience because there was only 14 games with the reserve team when I first went pro at 18 with Albirex Niigata. So they sent all their young players, about 10 of us, and whatever other players, to make this team in Singapore. So anyway, so I went there on loan, and after 2 years, so after my first year, I did really well, and then Singapore asked me if I wanted to play a couple more years, and I would get the Singapore nationality. And there was a friendly against Japan, so it was a U23s against. So there's a men's Singapore national team against the Japanese national team, and they asked me whether I wanted to represent that game. And in my head, I'm just thinking, if I play well in this game, I'm probably going to go back to J League and even have a chance with the Japanese national team. That's exactly what I was thinking, right? So my first thought wasn't about Singapore, even though I had that invitation. And of course, I'm going to wear the Singapore jersey on my heart and play as hard as I could. And at that game, I got I think 2 goals, man of the match. Singapore never has beaten Japan in the history of whatever, and so job done, right, on my behalf. And then one of the Singapore media asked the Japanese coach, like, this Japanese player has done well for us. Does he have any chance with the Japan national team, or does he have a chance to go back to J League, kind of thing? And he just shut it right down. It was like, oh, there's good Japanese players everywhere. Good luck to him. And that was it. So I know, when I read that on the newspaper the very next day, I mean, even though I was kind of proud to play against Japan, everybody in Japan saw the score. Even my club, Albirex Niigata in Japan, saw the score. But they just said to me, yeah, do one more year and just keep grinding it, and you'll come back. So the following year, I got Young Player of the Year, and somehow I couldn't reach any more in what was presented to me, my situation there. So, I mean, I worked hard as I could, and that's when the Singapore national team coach happened to be Danish, and he's going back to Denmark, and he asked me to go with him to play in Denmark. And that's exactly when Canada started calling me and asked me if I wanted to represent Canada. And it made sense for me because all my Japanese family live in Calgary and across Canada, so they never see me play. So this would be the only way to actually play in front of them in live television in Canada.
Hmm.
So for me, it was a no-brainer.
And how did Canada know that you had citizenship if you left at a very young age? How did they find out that you
Yeah,
had that
yeah,
citizen?
yeah. It was pretty. I have absolutely no idea because I wasn't registered as a Canadian playing for the youth team in Japan. And when I went on loan to Singapore, I was surprised. I mean, I was born in Canada. I always had a Canadian passport, but I never left a footprint in Canadian football or America. So I was always considered as a Japanese. So when Stephen Hart, the Canadian national team coach at the time, gave me a call and asked me, this is Team Canada, hello, Issey, kind of thing, I was just shocked to actually have that phone conversation and have the coach call me like that, say, do you want to play for Canada? We believe you have a Canadian passport. He didn't say how he knew. He just said that's. And I remember coming into the first camp in Hungary, saying, I was asking some of the other guys like Julian de Guzman. I was like, I have no idea how Stephen Hart found me because I know the other guys. Their parents contacted the Canadian CSA saying we have a Canadian descent playing in, like, for example, Marcel de Jong. I know his parents or his agent reached out to Stephen Hart, who came over to Holland to kind of see him, to watch him play and stuff. So usually people reach out and say, by the way, we're Canadian, just just so you guys know, we're playing in, top league Holland or whatever. So that should catch their attention, right? But my case, I actually have no idea.
Hmm.
I have no idea. Yeah.
And it started off with a phone call, and you ended up making a good impact on the Canadian national team. You represented them at 4 different CONCACAF Gold Cups. You scored a goal.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a decade. Yeah.
Yeah. How how was that like being able to represent Canada at four international tournaments or CONCACAF Gold Cups?
Well, first of all, I think Team Canada for me was my home. Like wherever I played, I was always a foreigner. I played, in Japan, I'm seen as a foreigner. Playing in Denmark, obviously at the time, I was a foreigner. Singapore, it's a very urban mixed culture, and so everybody's a foreigner. But when I went for that camp in Hungary, everybody was mixed. Everybody was dual citizen. Everybody was like, not just Canadian. There was like tables of French, tables of French, English, bit of the other like British, Scottish, like everybody was mixed. So with that, I was like, wow, I've never realized how diverse this national team is. This is just like me. And that's when I honestly fell in love with playing for Canada. I realized how everybody was so diverse. Yeah, man. So that I really took it to heart. And I was like, playing for Canada really meant a lot to me. And even singing the national anthem, we all face the flag, and it's the flag is like waving in the air. And I remember my first couple, I would say my first 5-6 games, I didn't know any of the words to the national anthem, but you kind of close your eyes, pretend like you know the words, and hold it to heart. And but to see the flag go like that, it's in slow motion. The whole country is behind you. You're representing the country, and it was just such an honor. And yeah, it was just such an honor. Yeah, basically. So I just loved every moment that I got to play for Canada.
And what was the feeling like scoring your first and only international goal against St. Vincent in the World Cup qualifiers back in 2008 for the 2010 World Cup?
Yeah, it sucks that as an attacker I only got one goal, but the amount of times I hit the post or crossbar is not even funny, or called offside when it wasn't offside. So it was, I think after I was like 10, 15 games, I finally got my goal. And yeah, for me, it was a relief because there was a little pressure from my domestic clubs in Denmark, where I was scoring a lot for the club, and I was the profile attacker, and doing well domestic Denmark league. So that was, that's the only thing I'm kind of, I wish I scored more goals for Canada, because I had my chances. Like even Canada against Brazil, this is one thing that just kind of runs through my head so many times. It was 24th minute, Canada versus Brazil, 47,000 people at Seattle Stadium. We are defending a corner. It's 1-1. And Rob Friend, actually, he puts me through, and I'm already running past Lucio, who was a center back at that time, and then I'm one-on-one with Julio Cesar, just outside I'm just about to enter the box, and he already goes down. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna chip it. So I chip it, and it's going just past the far post, and just by an inch, I missed the post, and I'm thinking, Canada could have been 2-1, and if it were on a different day, if I took it to my right foot, my favorite foot, maybe it could have been a different story. It could have been 2-1 Canada. So I had my chances. I didn't capitalize. I'm glad the young guys these days, the wingers these days, are all capitalizing their chances. So yeah, I'm glad that they are, because I definitely didn't capitalize my chances. So that's one thing I kind of regret, but I still, I love the career that I had, the moments that I had with the national team, the best experiences. So to rub shoulders against Robinho, things like that, it's just, you'll never forget that.
And you mentioned about the Canadian youth players right now. You have guys like Jonathan David and Alphonso Davies and Kyle Larin, Lucas Cavallini that made huge marks on their club careers so far. And what do you think of Canada's prospects in the future to try to qualify for the 2022 World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were always the favorites. I mean, so many times Canada was the favorites. We didn't have as much coverage media-wise as we do now. But I mean, back in 2000, the tens, during that decade, everybody was playing in Europe. You know, I mean, Thomas Rosiński was at Tottenham. Sorry, at Fulham. We had Sully at Tottenham. You know, we had Julie de Guzman, Atiba, McKenna. Like, there's so many guys that was just playing and starting every game. It was just not as known as now. You know, majority of the guys are playing in MLS. Back then, we only had D-Ro, only Dwayne De Rosario that was playing in MLS, and he was doing really well. He was like MLS All Stars and everything, but everybody was actually starting in their European clubs, which was at the time. And I still remember, like I had like U.S. Teammates like Michael Parkhurst, who was you know, because we kind of shared our experiences with the national team, and we were at the same level. We just didn't have enough players. Like if Atiba or Julian was injured, we had a hole in the middle. Whereas US, they had 10 times the players playing in Europe, but nobody was starting. Everybody was on the bench. Canada, everybody was starting. Everybody was doing well for the domestic clubs, proving themselves that they should be in the starting lineup with the national team. So we had great options back then. We just didn't have the same media coverage as we do now. But it's easy to say now. It's like, yeah, okay, we see, you know, top clubs, 3-4 clubs that these guys they are doing well. So I think we were 1 point off the World Cup once, right? So I hope they actually get to the World Cup this time.
And how's it like? Let's say getting the initial call-ups to the Gold Cup squads. Like, what was the feeling like to represent Canada at a major continental tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it's always an honor, especially playing from domestic clubs, being called up from the national team, especially for the time I was in Denmark and Australia, Cyprus. I saw how the local players, if they represented the country, you know, like the club really took that as a there is a proud moment for any club that one of our players is going with the national team. You know, all the players like, you know, and just before the warm up, kind of make the announcement, and everyone's like, "Oh, well done, man! Like, yeah, go for it," kind of thing. So every time I got called up with the Canadian team as well, you know, it was a nice moment from your peers to actually kind of give you that sort of like, good luck, man, this is time to shine, you know. So with that at heart, you do your training and then you get on the plane and go join your Canadian boys and you know, see the faces that you haven't seen in a few months and get to train again. And I honestly felt like, for me, Team Canada always felt like a family. Like, there wasn't too many guys that was changing because everybody was solid at their clubs. They were playing well. It's a shame that we didn't do as well as expected, but that's just, I guess, just how football is. The preparation is very minimal. You know, you get to train 3-4 days and then you're just thrown into a game. So, yeah, but that's just the way it is with national teams. So, but yeah, these big stages, yeah, I mean, it's just a big honor to be playing at that level, playing at that stage, just wearing the maple leaf, yeah, maple leaf on your sleeve. Yeah.
Just curious,
Sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah. So I was curious, how many different languages can you speak? You're a world traveler, so I was wondering how many languages you speak.
I'd like to say I speak Danish, but then if any of my Danish friends see this, they're just gonna laugh at me. So, and I'd like to also say I speak Malay, but all those fans are also just pretty much laugh at me too. But I can speak a little bit, but you know, it's just I understand more than I can speak, especially with Danish. But Denmark, like, everybody speaks English, so it's hard to pick up their language when you're struggling and they just like speak English to you. So, I mean, Atiba too. Atiba was there for so long, but I'm pretty sure his Danish sucks. Because we were there pretty much the same amount of time, like 5 years or so. So, but yeah, Spanish too. I'm trying to pick up Spanish. As my kid lives there, so for me, my hometown is Spain at the moment. I think I just suck with languages. I end up just teaching English, even though I don't speak very well English. But I do speak Japanese, fluently, but I cannot read because there are 10,000 symbols, and I know about ABC, all
Mhm.
the Japanese symbols. That's all I know. You're Japanese too, right?
I'm half Japanese, yes.
Half Japanese.
My
Yeah.
dad's from Shikoku Island, but my mom is from Finland.
Yeah. So do you speak Japanese?
I don't speak Japanese, not at
Ah,
all.
come on, man.
But I do
If
speak
you're
Finnish.
Japanese, you gotta speak Japanese.
Yeah, I do
Oh
speak
yeah, the
Finnish.
Finnish.
Yeah.
Yeah, Finnish sounds like you're like I don't know, like I don't know. Finnish sounds so weird. I had
Yeah.
a Finnish teammate, and he just sounded like it was like beatboxing the whole time. I was like, dude, what are you doing? I just want to dance.
Who was your Finnish teammate?
Yuka Santala. He was, I think, playing. He was a striker for Finland for a while. While he was, while I was playing with him in FC Nordsjælland in Copenhagen.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So also in your club career, you managed to play a couple of stints in Major League Soccer, both for Canadian clubs, Toronto FC and Montreal Impact.
Yeah.
How was that like being able to play in for the country that you represent, the national team in?
It was. I felt like I wanted to play. I mean, I asked many guys, "Is do you prefer playing, being a foreign player or a local player?" And hate to say it, but yeah, me too. I prefer being a foreign player as I look back. But before that, I didn't know what it felt like to be a local player. I've never been a local player. Even okay, with my Japanese passport, playing in Japan, I was always an outskirt. I was always seen as a foreigner. So finally playing for Canada all those years to finally play in Canada, I honestly felt like I was coming back, play my last few years in MLS or in Toronto at that time. It was my idea, but I realized that at that time, I mean, I didn't know anything about the whole trade system. I just thought like in Europe, you go on loans and some mutual agreements. But I didn't realize that MLS kind of controls that whole thing and says you have to. Sorry, police looking at me like, what am I doing here? Sorry. Um, sorry, what was I saying? Yeah. So, sorry, what was I? That guy
uh,
just threw me off.
Playing for Toronto FC and Montreal Impact.
Sorry, yeah. So I was super happy to actually come back, and I started come to Toronto where I had a lot of friends. I knew a lot of people there. So finally, everybody kept asking me, like, come and play in MLS, come to Toronto, kind of thing. Feel like a local player. So I finally did that. Finally felt great, but I think I scored 3 goals in 5 games, and I got traded because Bradley was going with the World Cup, and Montreal wanted the midfielder. Sorry, Toronto needed to replace Bradley just for the World Cup time, and Montreal wouldn't take any other wingers but me. And I made a bit of a fuss about it because I didn't want to go to Montreal. I was once you set your heart on a team, it's like that's where you want to stay. That's where you want to start building a foundation. And before my things arrived from Europe, I've always, I've been living in a hotel for 2 months, and my things are on the way. I'm scoring goals. I'm starting to feel good. And then they're like on my birthday, on my 30th birthday, they were like, yeah, tomorrow you got to go to Montreal. And I was like, what do you mean? I just scored the winning goal in the semifinal. So if I go, I can't play the final. Like that makes absolutely no sense. Why would I do that? At least just give me another week, at least.
Mm.
Or 2 weeks even. But they're like, no, you have to go now. And I made a fuss about it. So, and yeah, of course, in the end, I had to go. It's all contracts, right? But that's how I just didn't feel. I just didn't feel right. I mean, what are we? Aren't players and clubs, kind of a mutual agreement, but obviously not MLS. So to be traded like that without a say, I just had a serious problem with it. And going to Montreal, I didn't score any goals. I wasn't happy. I did get over my issues and try to do my job, but I guess 5% was missing, and then that was it. Montreal was like, okay, well, thanks for coming, but good luck to you. And I
Mm.
was like, fine, yeah. And
Mm.
that's when Malaysia asked me if I wanted to go over, and then I enjoyed that for 4 years, and that was great.
Mm.
So
Because you ended up playing for Terengganu and Pahang. How is Malaysian soccer football at that few couple of years ago? What was that experience like? Was
yeah,
there big fanfare?
well, Well, I thought, knowing Singapore, because I played Singapore for 2 years, I thought, Malaysia would be something similar. But Malaysia was far more of a football nation than Singapore was, right? So every stadium is a full stadium. You go 20 to 40,000, depending on the stadium size. Full stadiums everywhere, because all they have is football. All they have is Premier League on TV and their local football and religion. That's all they have, right? So, and obviously the paradise that surrounds everything. So, and palm trees everywhere. I love palm trees. Anyway, um, so yeah, that was just amazing. Everybody's wearing the jersey every single day. You're taking selfies with these people, 20, 25 selfies a day. It's a very, I don't know. I think foreigners do stick out, especially in Terengganu. There's not too many foreigners. So, and everybody loves the club. That's all they have. That's all they truly are passionate about is the game. So when you do well for the club, you just become, they just love you. And like majority of my followers, I guess, or fans or supporters, hardcore supporters, are all like from Malaysia, because they yeah, I guess I did all right there. So plus I went public when I went to Malaysia. So that's, I think the Instagram days when we just kind of say, all right, let's go public, see what happens. But playing for a royal family team, which is Pahang, there's three royal family teams in Pahang where there's no limit to their pockets, because it's an oil country and it's a tax haven, and these guys have all the money to play with. So it's kind of unfair for the other teams, but they're all government run teams as well. So it's very different to clubs needing to to advertise and really attract other businesses and supporters to fund the team. Over there, it's just pure oil money. So nobody really has to work but to just pay salaries. So it's a whole different structure to how a club is run. And then you have the royal family teams, like the one I played for as well. It's I don't want to say too much, but it's just if they call us at a late hour saying, yeah, come and join our dinner, you have to go. Doesn't matter what time. If it's 10 p.m. and if he calls you, you got to go. You can't say no to royal family. I tried. When I was in Terengganu, there was a princess that, because I was staying at the resort, and this high-end resort, the princess always comes, and I think she wanted to meet me, and she demanded, I just pulled my hamstring. So I was like, no, I'm not coming. I'm sorry. Like, the manager's calling my room. And I'm like, I'm sorry. There's no way I'm going. I'm icing my leg. I can't walk. This is my second time in 1 week. I can't, I have a game coming up, trying to recover. It's like, no, you can't say no. You have to come. I was like, I don't care who she is. Please. I just cannot move. And then they sent somebody, and I was like, still no, for the fourth time. And the fifth time, all these people came. It's like, Issey, you cannot say no. We're all going to die if you just stay in this room. So I was like, fine. All right. So I go to and say hello and all that. And it's just like, it feels like a different species. Like, they are a whole different human being. And I mean, the way they talk, the way other people talk to them, even though majority of them go to school in London, in England. So they're very different than the usual Muslim, because they're, or Malay people. But yeah, people are kissing their fingers, like, the royal family kissing their ring, and then the pressure is just different. It's not like your club chairman asking you to attend whatever. No, like, there's a mutual respect for player and staff, or boss and stuff, right? But this is like, it's different. When it comes to royal family, it's like basically God coming into your presence, and you gotta act accordingly. So that was pretty interesting. There were some stories, but I don't know if I should if I could share. I might get in trouble.
Yeah. So you only spent a couple of years or seasons in Malaysia before departing and making one final stop in Canada with Pacific FC. Canada just recently, of course, started the Canadian Premier Soccer League, or Canadian Premier League.
Yeah.
How's that like joining that league and that team for a new season or a new league?
Well, I mean, leaving Toronto and Montreal in MLS, I really felt like it was just a American company exploiting the Canadian cities, right? I mean, there was more Americans on our team than Canadians, and of course, our Canadian players cannot be a local player in the other American teams, even though we're in the same league. But Americans can be a local in our Canadian teams. So for any Canadian players growing up, there was just a few spots that you're playing for, right? So there's no real future for Canadian guys. Like Canadian guys really have to go abroad if you're chasing and trying to get on that soccer ladder. So I always thought it was like, well, what's the point of this? This is just this is an American league. Just exploiting the Canadians. And everybody said the same thing. So I was super happy when Canada finally announced that, okay, a league is starting. And then my ex-teammates with the national team, Rob Friend and Josh Simpson, where I had some good times with the national team. These guys asked me, yeah, do you want to come play, 1 or 2 more years with us and, help kind of market the league and enjoy your last little bit. And it will be, I mean, they did say from the start that it's going to be a young league. Majority of them have no experience. Majority of them coming straight from university or youth teams are just raw, right? So if I could rub off on their kind of mentor, right? So that's the kind of role I ended up taking, even though my body still felt good. I still wanted to play, but I just taking up a different role. And I think as any mid-30s player, that's kind of the role you end up naturally taking, because it's like, even if I did well, it's just like there's no after, like, what are you going to do after that? It's not like I'm trying to get to the All-Stars or whatever. It's just you won't see these young players kind of, like, for me, my favorite play was to make the diagonal run and get that ball on the run, like not receive to feet, hit the space. And majority of the young players always come to feet, say, give me the ball. So, and that's when I kind of kicked in and say, no, just come extra early, turn around, sprint. So by the time he gets his head up, the guy with the ball sees where you want the ball. So, and then to see the young players like pull that off, it was a nice feeling to actually know that my advice kind of helped them. So I guess that's the role I took last year. And yeah, that was that.
Where do you see the Canadian professional soccer league or Premier League going in, let's say, 5 years time?
Well, I mean, World Cup is just 6 years away, right? So everything is building up to that. Like some of the young guys I play with, I really hope they have a good chance and get into that squad in 6 years' time. Even some of the young kids that I got to coach when I was there, like some of the private sessions I did with some of these young kids, I hope they would they have a chance, and now the ladder is set. You actually have a play, something to aspire to and actually reach in order to get to the next stage of soccer ladder. And this is, I think it's a great start. Like for obviously COVID is not, it's going to make everything difficult for the second year, but I think CPL is doing the right thing. I think Canada is doing the right thing. It's finally the league is set. It's just more teams to make it more interesting rather than play each other 3-4 times. Yeah, Canada's definitely got it all figured out. And World Cup's, like I said, World Cup's around the corner, and it's just exciting times, really, for Canadian soccer. Finally.
Do you see yourself coaching a team once, of course, after your playing career?
Yes and no. No, because I still like to play, like today, just playing futsal with some random Tokyo people. And yeah, coaching, I can see myself coaching, but it all depends. Depends where, depends who, depends everything. I enjoyed coaching a lot of private sessions over the past year, and especially the Pacific FC players too. It was nice to kind of rub off my experience to them and see them, go in the right direction. So I definitely still want, even though I've kind of stepped away from Canada, I always have Canada in my heart. it's a home to me. Soccer has never really gone my way when it came to like MLS and CPL, but the national team gave me so much, and I think that's also why I got to move around so much, because if you had like for example, a Polish a winger who's played 4 games with the national team, or a Canadian winger that was scoring, in majority of the clubs I was at, with say 25, 30 national team appearances, I became the favorite in that for any agent or the club to choose. So that always made my transition easier. So I owe a lot to the national team. I know they don't care, obviously, but I know I have a certain gratitude towards the national team, whether they call me one day or not, or even a Canadian team. It's just a special feeling I have for Canadian football and in Canada in general. So whether somebody asked me to represent and be a coach, I can see myself doing that. Yeah, I can see myself doing that.
What are 3 pieces of advice you would give to somebody who aspires to become a professional soccer player?
It's just hard work, man. That's all it is. It's just, well, it depends what age, right? But I think for me growing up, when I was playing at Crystal Palace, even though I was at schools of excellence, whatever, British system, there was only training like Mondays and Thursdays and a game on Saturday. Well, what was I going to do for Tuesday and Wednesday? Of course, I played for another Sunday league team or county district. I played for like 4 different teams just to have football every day. And that wasn't that necessary. I could have just done a whole bunch of individual training that was more beneficial, because majority at that age, majority is a bit of shooting and, a bit of possession and game. Yeah, you do need those things, but there's a lot of individual things you can do with the ball. There's so much you can do with just one supporter, for example, a parent or a friend, a teammate, and there's so much you can do, which is exactly what I'm actually trying to do. I'm trying to create an app, so stay tuned. That's going to come out in Canada, called OA. That's what I'm going to say right now, OA. But anyway, individual training, and it's all about hard work, doing every single day, and just being consistent and looking after your body like it's like your temple or your machine, your tool that you're going to actually be faster or being able to do the things you imagine to do. And it really is, no matter, like I say this to all the guys too, like a talented player with no real desire or passion to work hard will always lose to the guy that has the desire and the passion, even though he might not be as talented. But everybody would say the same thing, like the hardest worker always makes it. So, and I always kind of saw that as myself. I was never the best player in any of the youth teams, but I was the last one standing as a professional player. And I think I did get to play more games than those guys that I grew up with, and experienced far more than everybody said I wouldn't. Like the coaches all told me that I wasn't going to make it. And I thought, oh, okay, fair enough. I'm just going to go to university, and I guess we'll see what happens. And then I get my chance. I do well. I score, whatever. I get my chances at these certain clubs, and I got the career of 17 years and whatever, close to 400 games. So, yeah. All I can say is just hard work, man. Just hard work. Just keep hustling. Something opens up. Even though you can't see the goal or what you want, even if you can't see it, just focus at what's at your feet, and just keep focusing on that. Work hard, keep sweating, and something will just be presented to you and be like, oh, this is the direction I'm supposed to go. And any player that's stuck, not knowing where to go, or maybe only have a month left in his contract, or just a month left, so whatever, you just know you have a month left in this football, right? Even no matter what age, you just keep grinding as hard as you can. Look yourself in the mirror while you're brushing your teeth, saying, did you give it all you could have? And as long as you can answer honestly and say, yes, I actually gave it all I could, then there's only good things that's going to happen for you.
And
just trust it.
And back to you've played for multiple clubs across different countries and continents. Is there a country, a league, a team that you always wanted to play in or play for?
Yeah. I had it. Well, I always wanted to play in Italy or Spain. I kind of did in Spain, but it's not the same. I was just like my son lives there, so I always go back off season. I train with a third division club. I played a couple games, but it was only I guess 1,000 people in the stadium. It's obviously not La Liga, but I did once go on trial with Valladolid and Rayo Vallecano because Benito Floro, our national team coach at the time, hooked me up. But it was difficult times financially, and yeah, the agent just couldn't finalize it, I guess. But I was so close, and that would have been a dream for me. But it didn't happen. It is what it is. That's just usually how it goes. But I think every player would say, "Oh, I almost went there." Yeah, there's so many of those stories. So yeah, I have my stories of I almost went to Italy, I almost went to Spain. Didn't happen. I went to Malaysia, or I went to MLS, or Cyprus. Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Well, Issei, I
Yeah.
want to say arigato. Thank you very much for having the time to appear on appear on my podcast. And as soon as yeah, I'll send you a link as soon as this is completed. And thank you.
Sounds good, man.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the week, and yeah, look forward to seeing how your app develops and takes off.
Yeah, man. Please give it a support when that comes out. Hopefully by the end of the year, early next year. Pretty much everything I've talked about is all in there. All the individual training from everything. I have 850, 900 videos. I have some big players part of it too. Yeah, so I'm excited to show the world of what I think is necessary for any player to actually live a football career. Yeah, basically.
All right. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of the week.
Yeah, man. All right, man.
Okay.
Thanks for
Bye.
the call.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely. Take care. Bye.